Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special show here with CLX Foundry Live. I'm your host, DJ Blue PDX. Joining me live from our studio in Wichita, Kansas, it's none other than our lead technical expert, Paul Steffens, and our master builder, Zach Hillingsworth. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Are you excited for today? Because I'm excited for today. Do you know why? Because we're going to be saying day a lot, because we're building a PC to give away for Intel Gamer Days. And if you don't know what Intel Gamer Days are, definitely check it out. It's going to be awesome. So here's how this is going to work. We've got two different giveaways. Now, this one is going to be going, the one we're building here is going to be going for the next 26 days. We've still got 22 days on our other giveaway. So all you have to do is type exclamation giveaway, and you'll find out all the information of how you can get to each specific giveaway and get your entries in. Now, there's plenty of places that you can find information about it, but also plenty of places you can find codes. Say it with me, codes. Now, the codes are dropped in our chat on Kick on Tuesdays. Okay, so that's kick.com/CLX Gaming. On Thursdays, we drop them on the purple side, which is Twitch. That's twitch.tv/CLX Gaming TV. You could also find them on our social media if you're checking out what's the latest and greatest with CLX Gaming, and that is on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at CLX Gaming. You could also jump into the Discord. That's discord.gg/CLX Gaming. And you can come to my streams where I will have codes as well. So with that being said, good luck, have fun, and most importantly, guys, what are we putting in this beautiful giveaway box?
All right, so this is a CLX set, and going inside of this, starting out with our processor, we've got the Intel Core i7-14700KF. To cool that, we've got our CLX Quench 360 AIO in white. This is the RGB version. And for our motherboard, we've got an Asus Prime Z790-A Wi-Fi. Really like the looks of this board here. It's going to match the aesthetic nicely. And for our memory, we have 2 sticks of XPG 16 gig, DDR5 6000 speed in white with the RGB heat spreaders. And for our storage, we've got a single 1 terabyte MSI M450 NVMe M.2 drive. For our video card, we've got an Asus Dual RTX 4070 in white. You can see it there on the pretty much in the center of your screen. For our case fans, we've got 6 of our Game DS Aeolus M2 fans in white. These have a ton of RGB and look great. And for our power supply, we've got an MSI 850 watt mag 80 plus gold fully modular, all going inside of this XT View chassis in white. Looks really good. We've done like 1 or 2 of these on the show. It's a pretty new case for us, so excited to do another one.
Awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Don't forget, if you have questions or you hear a term that you're not familiar with, go ahead and feel free to reach out and say, hey, what the heck does that mean? And that's what we'll do. And for those of you who did miss it, there's an early bird code, and it is WXTV. That's Whiskey X-Ray Tango Victor -22 SS. That is the number 2, followed by Sierra Sierra. There we go. Okay. Greetings. See everybody over there. Nuances over on the TikTok side. Hello. How are you? Hashim. Rickless, welcome. Glad to see you here. Welcome in. Haitian gamer community. Hello. Good to see you. Conrad's over on the Kick side, as well as Ordy. Nyko 13. Because Nyko 14 would be just too many. Now, as far as us getting with the start is going to be obviously a brilliant motherboard. This is a Asus Prime Z790A Wi-Fi motherboard. It's got some really great connectivity as well. So let's take a look at those back I/O ports. So at the very, oh wow, that's a shine. So at the very top, we've got our display port and our HDMI. Down below that, you've obviously got your USB 3.2 Gen 1s, and then you've got a Type-C that is a USB 3.2 Gen 2, followed down below by your high-speed. There's 4 USB 3.2 Gen 1s, 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2s, plus the Type-C, or Wi-Fi down at the bottom. Audio. Now this is a fun board because of the way it lights up inside. I always love it. That little clear space on the left right there, it actually lights up inside.
Yeah, I like this board. It looks really good.
Okay, we're getting our frame on there for our AIO. So next up, let's take a look what we're going to be powering this beat with, and this is going to be an Intel i-Core i7-14700KF processor. Paul, tell us about this processor.
Yeah, this is a 20 core. I almost did it. This is a 20 core. This is a 20 core, 28 thread processor from Intel. Very solid gaming processor here. It's got 8 performance cores with hyper threading, 12 efficiency cores, a base speed of 3.4, and it will boost up to 5.5.
Okay. Mustang fishing is... Oh, no. Sorry to hear that, my friend. Hashim wants to know, has the weather improved down there in Kansas? Last week wasn't any good for streaming.
A little bit. We did have like a small storm this morning, but it was like, I mean, maybe 20 minutes. It went by pretty quick.
Conrad mentioned hasn't been around in a while. Don't worry. Welcome back. Glad to have you here, my friend. Okay. Now we're getting this on. Of course, the one thing you've got to do when you are... I love this new feature. This is the way to put on the thermal paste. So, Zach, explain this process, because this is a little bit different than you've done it in the past.
So when applying thermal paste, we want to ideally apply a nice level surface. With these bigger processors, we want to have it evenly spread all around. So what this company has done is when you buy an AIO from them, they have these little clear sheets, clear stickers, and it allows you to smear all of your fun gunk everywhere that you could possibly want it to be. And then you're like, okay, well, I feel like that might be a little bit too much. Did I put too much down there? I don't know. And then you do huzzah!
Oh yeah.
And bam, you're like perfect.
That's fantastic.
It looks good.
I like it. Okay, so now we're going to get our AIO on there, and that's going to involve our pump for our AIO. We're going to be using none other than a CLX Quench 360 ARGB white AIO. Now, some people have heard us say this before, but that's okay, because there might be people who don't know. Paul, what's an AIO? How does it work?
Well, first off, an AIO stands for all-in-one. So we're talking about the liquid cooler here, obviously. So that's what Zach's installing right now. Basically, these things come out of the box ready to go. There's already coolant inside the radiator, and we just grab the right set of hardware that matches our motherboard socket, and you're pretty much good to go after that. Typically, the AIOs will come with 3 to 4 different sets of hardware for all the different motherboard sockets. So you just make sure you grab the right one, and pretty straightforward after there. There are a couple cables coming out of it. This one does have RGB, so that's why we have 2 cables. We've got one to power the pump, and then one for the RGB.
Nice. Awesome. All right, and from what I understand, Monty, yes, it's available with obviously a few exceptions where it's prohibited by law. But all that information, of course, is on the giveaway page. Once again, type exclamation giveaway to find out more. Now, I noticed you're routing the cable around. Why is that?
Yes, this is a good way to hide our cable without having to really see a whole lot of it, just by subtly sticking it underneath our posts in between our retention kit. We can just kind of have all of our cables routed there to where when we're looking, if I can get this guy up, when we're looking directly down at it, we won't see a whole lot of cables just hanging around out in the open. It's always nice to have it be a little bit cleaner look to it. If I can get...
Yeah, some motherboards got those taller heat spreaders, and they can kind of make it a little bit difficult, but gives it a good look. And like what Zach did is we want to tighten this down before we do that. That way none of the cables get in between the CPU and the plate right there.
Oh, got it. That's a good point.
And then you also don't want to pull, like if you, every once in a while you'll see me wrap it around when I only have like just the fan cable. You don't want to pull it tight, because if you pull it tight, it could set up onto the processor, and that could cause some damage. So just loosey-goosey under there.
Gotcha. Nice. Okay, anybody ever dealt with or built with the Thermaltake T900 tower? Asks Anna Smith.
I don't think I have. We've done a few Thermaltake cases, but I don't believe I've done that one.
Yeah.
I think we had, what was the S100 for a while there, I believe was a Thermaltake one that we used quite a bit.
Yeah.
And there's some other really larger ones that can be used for the open loop builds.
Nice. There we go. And yes, the early bird is up at the very top of the chat. Just scroll all the way back and you should be able to see it. It's from Ivory. I'm sorry, I almost said Darth Paradise. Dark Paradise. Motherboard looks awesome. It actually is. And what's even more awesome is what we're going to be putting in for RAM. This is going to be two 16 gig sticks of DDR5 6000 for a total of 32 gigs of dual channel memory. And it's the beautiful white version. I love this. It's going to look great. Now, obviously, you want to put those in slots 2 and slots 4 because reasons. What are those reasons?
Those reasons are, that's what our motherboard manual is telling us to do. Now, we've obviously built a ton of computers, so we just kind of know to use slots 2 and 4 when it's a 4-slot board. But if you're unsure, you always want to check your motherboard manual. It will tell you in there which slots to fill for how many sticks of RAM you're installing.
All right, now we're getting this locked down here. So what did you just pull off, Zach?
A heatsink for our NVMe drive.
NVMe drive. It looks like a 1 terabyte AData Legend 700 Gold M.2 NVMe SSD.
Oh yeah.
But I'm just guessing. So obviously that is a very small solid state drive. How different is that in functionality than, say, a regular hard drive?
So the M.2 drives are way faster than a traditional 3.5-inch hard disk drive, and they are significantly faster than the 2.5-inch SSDs as well. It's a really good way to get a lot of storage at really fast speeds, and you don't have to run any cables to connect them, which is really nice.
Awesome. Dig it. I dig.
The best way to describe hard drives is with high fives. This is a hard drive and a computer giving a high five to each other.
Oh yeah.
This is an SSD and a high five giving.
Way
this
quicker.
is an NVMe. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. We got close on that one.
That's it. It's just
boom.
It's close and it's fast. It's right there.
Get to know you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude,
it just slaps that motherboard, doesn't it?
You can fit so much storage in here.
Yeah, so much storage in this bad boy.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. All right, so now we've got all of this going on, and we're gonna have to do something because we've got to have a way of pushing air through that radiator. So we're gonna be using a group of GameDS AOS M2 ARGB fans that are in white. So, for the purpose of just understanding how this functions, Paul, which way are these fans facing and why?
So we have these fans going on this radiator to where air is going to be coming in from this side that everybody's looking at right now. So air is going to be coming in the top of this fan and going through the radiator. So this would be pushing air through. It's called the push method. If we had these in the same orientation, but just on the back side of this, they'd be pulling air through, which is another way you can install fans. Now, if you have the option, you typically want to go with pushing air through. Just makes everything stay cool a little bit better. But if you have them in a pull method, that's still going to work all right as well.
Nice. There we go. Let's pop that over there. It's awesome to be typing the giveaway command. So those are your two links, two different things. Now there's different ways you can do it. Obviously, we want to push the air through as opposed to pull it. But you can also do a push-pull.
Yeah, you can put fans on both sides of the radiator, which will be a push-pull method, which we did for DJ's computer. It's a little bit less common, but it does improve temperatures a good amount. It's definitely worth doing if you've got room in your budget and your case can do it. Some things to keep in mind when doing that, though, are these motherboard heat sinks right here. Typically, a 360 is going to go in the top of a case in a lot of the cases. So when it's sitting in top, if you've got an extra fan on the back, that can lower the actual distance there, and it can bump into your motherboard heat sinks or your memory. So it's just something you want to look out for if you're going that way.
Nice. All right. Of course, the case that we're going to be using, obviously, is a Set XT View mid-tower in white. Now, this is a newer case that we just started seeing come out and around. Paul, what are some of the cool features of this case?
So first off, I really like the glass panels on this. There's no like seam between the front and the side panel. It's a good size case too. It's a full ATX, obviously, like what for the ATX board we're putting in, but it's still a pretty small case. So this can go under your desk or on top of it if you want. We've also got this mesh down here on the power supply shroud that we can show in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I may have read your question wrong there. You want to put them in? Well, I re-explained it. I'm going to put it under the entry option in the Intel giveaway page once they're unlocked. Now, again, there are different codes for different giveaways. If you're looking to do the our August giveaway, that is going to be, you're going to be looking for codes that start with either sealed XG, SET, or View, VIEW. If you're going to be putting a code into the Intel Gamer Days, it's going to start with either WXTV, Days, DAYS, and then IGD, which stands for Intel Gamer Days. So, there you go. Greetings, Dadush. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Valvothrin. Hiya. And now we're getting that in there. So, I see you using the screws just on the little circles that have it looks like metal rivets on it.
So those holes are showing us where our motherboard mounting screws go into. They kind of have little solder lands around them, and those are sitting on top of our standoffs that are installed in the case. So the reason we do it that way is because we don't want the motherboard touching the frame of the chassis, because that can obviously cause some shorting out. From this shot here, if you just look up in this top corner, you can see that standoff under here and all the way down. So that's what those screws are going into. And yes, this is nice. A Z790.
It's a gorgeous board. Now we're going to get that pumped into the top there. So, unlike some of our, we've seen models that we call like 2/3 or 3/4 builds where the motherboard doesn't sit completely against the back of the case, and so that you've got areas for cable management. This case is a bit different. So, how does that work?
So this is a little bit different from what we usually use, like those 2/3 cases, and it's not quite the traditional where the intake fans are in the front. It's kind of a mix of both. So our motherboard is sitting in the back of the case, but we are going to have our, you can see Zach's putting those radiator in up top, so we are going to have fans here in the back, kind of, yeah, right here where my hand is. So it's set up a little bit differently, but our power supply is going to be down here in the bottom section under this power supply shroud, and then we've got room for cable management in the back of this case as well.
We've got a good question coming in from Joe425. Says, hey guys, is a 5800X and a 3060 Ti a good pairing?
It's not a bad pairing at all. That's you can play a lot of good games on there at good frame rates, especially at 1080. I'd say that 5800X might be a little bit stronger than the 3060 Ti, so you've got room to upgrade your video card in the future if you want.
Good question. And once again, because I've seen a couple questions about it, don't forget we're dropping codes today for these giveaways here on the Kick side. On the green side, on Thursday, we'll be dropping codes on the purple side. So you want to pay attention to those streams to get your things. And I drop them just on stream as puzzles. So we'll see how that all works out. Now, one cool thing that you can see from this angle is obviously you've got your power supply space down on the bottom that's underneath in that shroud area. So there's a little vent there on the bottom next to the feet. That's going to provide what?
So this is where our power supply is going to get its air in. So we have this nice mesh filter here that just slides out, really easy to clean. But our power supply is going to be bringing air in here through the bottom of the case and then spitting it out the back of this hole right here.
And one thing to discuss, because it's really got great height in there for the feet, being it, bringing it up that high. What's a great place to actually put your PC? so that you're making sure you're type of static electric discharge.
The biggest thing to keep in mind is you just want to keep this gap between the feet and the bottom of the chassis as clear as possible. So, it's not a good idea to set it on like some shag carpet or something like that. Anything that's kind of like a hard level surface so that it can breathe properly.
And GT Beakerman, that was 22SS22 Sierra. Okay. And we're getting all these cables. The case obviously already has cables in it. What are these for?
So these cables Zach is putting in right here are case cables, which are the USB ports on the top of the chassis, power button, any other buttons here. We've got a Type-C headset and mic port as well. So we like working on those cables first before we get a lot of the components in, because it's just a lot easier to route them, and we can manage them and just be done with those case cables and then move on to the other components.
So, Uncut Chain has a question about the AMD build we did. Wants to know, why do people recommend 3D versions of AMD CPUs rather than the non-versions?
Probably for the cache that's on them. Get a little bit more cache on those.
Yeah. I do want to bring up one thing that was when we talked about the 5800 and the 4060
Ti.
3060 Ti, there we go. At what point do you, I guess first, what is bottlenecking? How does that, what happens when that occurs? How do you, I guess, safeguard against that happening?
So for bottlenecking, what that means is you don't want like the highest end processor with like a low end video card. So if we just want to use the extremes as an example, let's use like an Intel Core i9 with like a GTX 1050 or something like that. Your processor is going to be way more powerful than that video card, so it's just your computer is going to run at the speed of that video card, so you're losing out on a lot of that power that processor can deliver by doing that. So that's what bottlenecking is. You want to get a decent pairing. Now it's okay to do it, like let's say you're going to upgrade, so you're like, yeah, I'm going to get this i9 and I'm going to get the 5090 when it comes out, but I'm just going to use this other video card for now. That's fine, gives you room to upgrade in the future, but probably not something good to do if you're planning on not upgrading for a while.
Yes. All right, now we've got the zip ties down on the back as we get these all selected. So Zach, when it comes to cable management, what's the best way to do this so that for people who are new?
Yes, so ideally, like Paul said earlier, we go to the case cables first. Just by splitting things up and dividing them out with our case cables, our power supply cables, and our fan cables, it makes it a lot easier to just manage everything. You're not having to play with a whole bunch of cables at once. You're just playing with just the cables that you have at that time. And then once they are tied up, then you don't have to mess with them again, and you can move on to one of the other cables. So just kind of helps to keep it organized. Some people just like having everything in there and then bundling them all together. That is a good technique. It's just a little bit more organized for us to kind of separate things out.
I know myself,
Gotcha.
I get pretty overwhelmed with cable management, and so sometimes I'll even be like, all right, I'm just going to slap all these components in. You kind of get in a groove where you're like, all right, motherboard's in, going to install my fans and my power supply, and then you're like, okay, time to manage cables. And it's like, oh, I didn't plug any of my case cables in, so now I got this huge rat's nest of cables to deal with, which can be kind of overwhelming. So that's why we like doing it this way.
Now, we do have a great question coming in from our friends over on Facebook. Wes Byrne. Hello, Wes. What's going on? Glad to have you back. Wes asks, what's the main difference between the i9-14900 motherboard and the high-end Ryzen boards? Are they comparable, and will both take the RTX 4090 the same without conflicts?
So those motherboards will take, as long as they've got a PCIe by 16 slot, which obviously I'm sure they do, they're going to be able to take that that card. So the thing you want to look at when you're buying a high-end card, obviously they're pretty large, so you just want to make sure it's going to fit in your case and not cause any issues. If you've got like an ATX chassis like we do here, most of the time it's going to fit in there, but when you get into those smaller form factor cases, that's when you want to be a little careful.
Right, Zach does make it look too easy, Val. I agree. Right now, so far, we've had one code that has been dropped, to my knowledge, and that is the WXTV-22SS. That's 22SS for the Intel Gamer Days giveaway. Red Comet over on the purple side. Hello. Welcome in. Glad to have you here. All right, now we're getting the back off of this. One of the cool things about this that I think the guys mentioned the last time we built with one is the way the glass is, because it's a little bit different.
So the glass on this case, typically, if you watched the show before, we take all the panels off the chassis just so we can move it around in this. But this case is pretty easy to work in, so that's why we can just leave this front panel in, and it doesn't cause any issues with us building that. So that's a little bit of difference. Sometimes you'll see like a bar support right here where the front panel meets the side panel. This case doesn't have it, which just gives it a nice look.
And here's another code coming in from Ivory, none other than it's a days code. And that means this code is worth 100 extra entries, and that is going to be days, DAYS-UGD4, Uniform Golf Delta, and the number 4. And, you know, we can.
Do it.
Sure.
Do it.
Do it. All right. For those of you who are wondering what, there we go. That is our other giveaway that we're doing. Just so you know the difference. One is black, one is white. It's very simple. But you can check out more about that by typing !giveaway in the chat. Exclamation giveaway in the chat. You can always find our latest giveaways by just going to clxgaming.com/giveaways. Okay. Now, as we're getting all of this set on, I'm noticing that you've got 2 fans. So we've got 3 fans going out and 3 fans and 2 fans coming in, correct? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So with the gap down at the bottom, I was noticing that it looks like that's like there's holes. It's a mesh, isn't it?
It is, yeah. This is like a mesh. It's still a solid thing. It's not like one of those magnetic filters that come off like the top has.
Right.
So this gives a good breathability here for our power supply. I really just like the look of it too. Then we have this nice light bar right here that everybody will see when we get this turned on. It's kind of it blends in really well with the case, honestly. It's kind of hard to see. I'm like watching our monitor. It's like really kind of hard to see the light bar right here, but it's right here.
Leave. Oh, back. Are we? Uh-oh. Well. Okay. Yeah, it seems we're working on it, people. Yep. All right. Now, the one thing I do want to point out is because we've got these fans, and the fans have to hook up to something so they can make all the pretty lights happen. So, Zach, what's that thing in your hand?
Yes, this is our Game DS fan hub, and this can hold up to 8 fans, and then we can daisy more off of it if we wanted to. And I think I'm gonna do it right there. That's where I did the other one. No, I'm gonna do it back. And so this allows us to plug all of our fans in together. Different hubs from different manufacturers don't require a linear plug-in, but I like to plug in on our Game DS hub, starting on the back fan. That'd be fan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just go around the circle. It makes it a lot easier for troubleshooting if we ever have to have a fan that's spinning and not glowing, or glowing and not spinning, then we can easily just be like, oh, that's fan number 5. Come back here. Oh, it's not fully plugged in. Unplug, plug in, and it goes. Just makes it a lot easier for just the minor fixes that might happen.
Ray City. It's one of the two. Says, hey, I'm building my PC right now too. My 4070 Ti 16 gig graphics card just came in today. Congratulations. That is awesome. If you have any questions about it or about installation, please feel free to ask right here. Cloud Dift says, wait, I'm curious, how do those two fans work if there is a back panel? That's a good question.
Good question. So I'll grab our back panel right now real quick and show you. So you can see the placement of those two fans. This is our back panel right here. See, we've got this mesh cut out. So this is specifically for where those fans are mounted. That way they can breathe properly and get a lot of air in.
Yes. Now we're going to get this all just zip tied in, which is fun. Now you did pull something else out of the box well, actually, which part do you want to talk about next? We're going to go to that power supply or that beautiful
Let's
car?
go to our power supply next, since we'll probably be installing that before the video card.
Gotcha. Okay, so for this, we've got an 850 watt MSI Mag A850GL. It's a PCIe 80 plus gold power supply. Now look at that. This has, well, it's missing something. It's missing cables. What does that mean?
That means this is a fully modular power supply. So none of the cables come pre-soldered into this. You can see right here, this is where our ports are for our cables to plug in. So when you get a modular power supply, you're typically going to get the PSU box right here, and then the cables are typically in a bag or just something separate. So what we do, we get the power supply out, and then we'll check what we need for the build. So CPU powers, do we need 1 or 2, video card power, all that stuff, SATA powers. Then we'll grab the cables that we need, and we'll only install those. Makes our life a lot easier on the tie-up, and it gives your system just a cleaner look. And then if you ever upgrade in the future, all the extra cables will just be in the accessory bag, and you can just grab them and throw them in. What up, Deadshot?
And one of the things Deadshot's in the house. Let's go. Yes, Ed, the question is, do you guys ever include peripherals with PCs you sell? Yes, we're kind of a one-stop shopping center when it comes to all things computers. It's really, honestly amazing. So, we had there was a question, and I completely forgot it. Okay, well, then, never mind. Oh, that was what I was going to say. The cables. Those cables look amazing. The ribbon, it's just solid. It's not even...
It is nice when the power supply manufacturers will match the cables to the power supply. It doesn't always happen, but MSI has done a good job with these power supplies. I really like it. It almost looks like a sleeved cable kit.
Why does my screen turn blue, Joshua Hernandez says.
Uh-oh.
That is a dangerous question. Derek Venable up on the Facebook side says, what do we hear, an NV5 case? Actually, no, this is an XT View. It's a newer case that we just started playing with.
This case is a little bit smaller than the MV5. It's still kind of in the same form factor of a mid-tower build, but it's a little bit shorter. We can still fit a large amount of fans in here. We just don't see it that often. This whole bottom area where the power supply shroud is, you can put fans on there as well. So if the NV5 is a little bit too big for you, but you like that aesthetic, this is a good option as well.
Ray City asked a good question here. Is the HX 1500i by Corsair too much power? Someone told me to make sure I had a lot of power for the 40 series.
I wouldn't say it's too much power. It is a lot, though. A 1500 watt power supply is a large power supply. You probably only need to go with 1000 watt, even if you're using really high-end components like an i9 4090, something like that. It's totally fine to have the extra headroom, though. The only concern that you might find if you look it up that honestly I'm not really that concerned about is if you've got a 1500 watt power supply and you're only using like 600 watts, it can be a little bit less efficient, but it's not going to make your PC run any worse or anything like that.
I do have a question. What kind of case are we sticking this 1,500 watt power supply into? Because I can tell you straight up that 1,300 watt power supplies are pretty big for most cases. 15 is bigger than a 13. I personally don't like playing with those because it's like
Giant
this
rectangle.
big of a power supply, and it weighs this about as much as a big bag of dog food. So once you stick that into your computer, it's like enormously heavy. Like, what's the power supply calculator? I would I would get one of those before like doubling down on that 15. Just from the building aspect of that is a big beef boy. You might need it, but I would make sure that your case can support it, because like it can fit into this case perfectly fine. I'm going to have to lose my hard drive storage bay to make it fit though. So like some cases it can fit, you're just losing your storage. And if you don't have hard drives, that's fine. But like if you do have SSDs or something, then that is where that issue will definitely come into play. So depending on the case, I would wait on that 15er.
Because I have a 1,300 in mine, and that was
those are big boys.
Process. Yeah, it was a process fitting it in there. A lot of cables. Let's see, King. Oh, okay. First, let's go back to Jimmy. Yo, would an 850 watt platinum power supply be too much for a 3060 Ti?
It's not going to be too much. It's definitely a little bit more than what you need, but it's not like a super amount where it's going to make your power supply super inefficient or anything like that. Honestly, I would go with that, because if you ever upgrade in the future, 850 is good enough to power a higher end card.
Let's see. King Metro mentions, what's up, dude? He mentions, I built my current PC and I don't know what I did wrong, but Microsoft anti-malware services uses 30% of my CPU full time, and I can't download or open any drivers. Windows is very out of date, and my GPU drivers are 16 months out of date, and I can't update either. Ooh.
Even if it's only using 30%, obviously that is a lot of your CPU for it to be using, but there might be another issue going on if you can't download the updates.
Yeah, there may be a virus or something.
Some malware or something.
Yeah, in those situations, Paul, what would you suggest? What do you think the best course of action is?
It's kind of hard to pin it down without having the PC, but a good first step when you're not sure is, what is it called? Now it just blanked my memory. There's a monitor that's built in that you can see. I think it's like a performance monitor. Gosh, I can't think of it. But it will show you, if there's an issue with something, it'll pop up. I will think of it. Give me a minute.
Yep, it's performance monitor.
Performance monitor.
Yeah. I've never actually pulled this up and looked at it.
Yeah, sometimes it can show a lot of like yellow triangles that, aren't super like yellow triangles with an exclamation mark. Usually don't have to worry about those. If you're not having issues, definitely don't worry about them. But if there's anything major going on, it'll be like a red triangle with an exclamation mark. Event viewer, maybe?
No, there's event viewer and then there's performance monitor. Ooh, look up event viewer. Yeah, look at that. All the viewers.
All the stuff. You definitely could wipe the PC if you wanted to. Always good to back up your stuff. That way you don't have to worry about like, oh no, I want to save these files or these pictures or whatever. That's what I do. I keep everything backed up on a flash drive, and then I also have another flash drive that's just got the ISO file for Windows. And then I was fixing my wife's computer because she hardly ever uses it. But we were using it a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't figure out the issue, so I just wiped and reloaded.
Let's see. Derek Venable mentions, I like it. Love my mid-size and more compact cases. I used to have, my very first one that I built was, I would say it's an ITX. It was just a very small little thermal tank. Metro mentioned, I bought micro malware bytes and scanned and no threats. Interesting.
Yeah.
Cloud Diff mentions CLX cable management is just phenomenal. Thank you. I'm gonna be honest. These guys do an incredible job. I am terrible at it. Just straight up awful at it.
Something else I just
Takes
thought of
embarrass-
you could try King Metro would be if you opened up your task manager and look at your processes. You might be able to stop that anti-malware service, and then that might free up your CPU and allow you to run updates. It might be a good step to try. It's kind of hard for us to troubleshoot without having the PC in front of us, though.
Let's see here. Ray City mentions the case I have the power going into is a Kadir's PC case, pre-installed 9 ARGB fans, an ATX mid-tower gaming case with opening tempered glass side panel door.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that brand before, but it's always nice when they come with a whole bunch of fans in them.
I'm just going to look at this for no other reason than sheer morbid curiosity. Oh, wow. These are... Okay. Dang. These are some really unique looking angled cases. Like, you know, we've got the fronts that are like this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've got some pretty unique looking cases, I'd be honest. Interesting. Very, very future robotic looking. I dig it. Okay. So Metro mentions that it's a pity that the cable side of Fantech's cases isn't a glass panel to show off Zach's work. Okay, honestly, Cosworth, that is an excellent suggestion and an excellent point.
True. There are some cases that have them, but this one does not.
King Metro mentioned I'm saving for a new PC. I'm just going to scrap the current one. Still shopping around for a PC. I want something that can possibly stream, but I only play League and sometimes single player games like BG3.
Yeah! Rocket League! The best
Here we go.
league!
See, the anti-malware services is tied to Windows Defender. I quit that every time I boot up. It still doesn't allow updates. Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to be a Windows.
Yeah,
issue.
if you've got a USB drive, you can just Google, like if you've got Windows 11 or Windows 10, you can just Google Windows 11 or 10 ISO file, and you can download it to your USB drive, and then you can boot from that, have that plugged into your computer, boot from your USB drive, and reload Windows. It'd be something to try if you're not worried about losing anything on your PC.
I'll tell you what you won't lose. You won't lose code, because here's a code coming in from Find Nicole here. It is +OKKO. Plus OKKO. There we go. Fantastic. CloudDift has a great question. Is there a way to lower the memory usage of my computer? Mine is running at 83% and not even playing a game.
Yeah, if you're just idling and your memory usage is 83%, well, number one, how much memory do you have? If I'm assuming you've got 8, 16, or 32 gigs at least, so you shouldn't, when it's idling, it shouldn't be using that. So you can open up Task Manager and look at your memory, and it should show you, and even on the Processes tab as well, it should show you what is using that memory, so you can kind of figure it out from there. If it's something that's just in the background that's doing that, or what's going on. 16 gig, yeah, you shouldn't be having that issue then. So that's the first thing I would do, just Control-Shift-Escape, open up your Task Manager, and you can look at stuff there.
What's up, Jet Out? How you doing? Yes, let's go. Supersonic rocket-powered battle cars. Yes, that is the original name for Rocket League, which was hilariously long. Okay. Again, I'm loving the way that these cables look. It's a very clean look.
They do look good.
Alrighty. Now, up next, I was just going to bring that up. Let's talk about this gorgeous card right here. This is an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070. Now, this is a little bit different when it comes to the white cards that we've seen before. So, Paul, that looks like a 3-fan, but it's got 2 fans. What's the deal?
This is the dual from Asus. Obviously, it is the white version, so it matches this build really nice. I like these coolers that they put on it. This dual spot right here is kind of transparent, so you can see in there, you can see all the heat fins and all that stuff in there. 2 larger fans, so this thing's going to stay cool, and a single 8-pin power connector, which we really like. Just need 1 cable to plug that in.
Nice. So when you're plugging these in, what are some good things to keep in mind, Zach?
Yes, so we want to have our PCI slot open. This motherboard has the fancy button on it, but if not, we would want to make sure that our tab is open. Then we just want to line up our gold PCI slot here with our slot down on our motherboard, and then our IOs with our little holes up front there. Just make sure everything's in line and push straight down for that click.
Now, Paul, you got to handle this. How did this feel in your hands? Did it feel heavy? Are we going to need an anti-sag device, or?
It is not that heavy, so we will not need an anti-sag device for this card.
Awesome.
You could still use one if you had one and you wanted to use it. It's not going to hurt anything by having one in, but this, I wouldn't say it's necessary to use it.
And I'll tell you what also is, well, you might want to use it, but guess what people are going to use? And they're going to use the code that Ivory just dropped. It's IGD. That stands for Intel Gamer Days -care with a 4. That is Charlie 4 Romeo Echo C4RE. Oh my gosh, this looks good. This looks so good. All right.
I want to get King Metro real quick. If you're doing that USB drive with the Windows 11 ISO, yes, you won't need to format your USB drive. It might ask that everything gets removed from it so that it's clear, or you can just load it on there and maybe it'll stay on there. But when you're booting up, so you'll have it plugged in, your USB port, you'll want to usually hit delete, spam delete on boot up to pull up your BIOS menu. And then from your boot menu, you will select the USB drive. There might be another hotkey. Sometimes it's F11. It's kind of different on the different brands of motherboard. But if you know what brand motherboard you have, you can just Google like boot menu for ASRock motherboard or Asus motherboard or something like that, and then you'll hit that key and then it will pop up typically selections to boot from. So if you've got that USB in there, it will show up in that boot list. It should also show your other drives as well, but yep, you just want to boot from that USB.
Dimensional Shadow. Yeah.
Dimensional Shadow's got a great one. It says my PC is a bit aged, 8 years, but in the past 12 months, I've reached a point where even the games I was usually able to play are laggy as hell, which, when looking at the stats, is a CPU or RAM issue. About 6 months ago, I changed the thermal paste, which improved the situation temporarily. Is it normal for parts to degrade after such a long time?
So after about 8 years, like what yours is going, it is a little normal to see some degradation there. It's just as, technology advances, the games require more and more resources, and so that's what happens. So if you were playing games that were out 8 years ago, it's not like your components have degraded, but that thermal paste can, it can stiffen up a little bit. We've seen them before where we'll find like a PC that's like 15 years old and you pull it off and it's not even like paste anymore. It's almost just like, it's like wax from a crown or something. Yeah. So, it is good to do that, but.
And will you need to get a new Windows key? That's a good question.
Good question. You should not need a new Windows key. So it sounds like you have Windows 11, so that should be tied to your hardware. So when you reload, the Windows is going to see it's going to see your motherboard, and I think it's typically motherboard and CPU is what it looks like. There might be a couple other components it looks at there, but it will know that. And then pretty much now we all have to have Windows accounts, like with your email, so you can just log in and it'll be activated.
Nice. All right, we're going to do one thing real quick. We're going to jump over to, we've got a lot of questions coming in. Let's do a couple more real quick. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Classy Boy mentions, I'm currently using light bulb grease as thermal paste and have been for about 3 months, and it's going strong. I don't even know what light bulb grease is.
I do. I don't know if I would use that as
Yeah, I've never worked with light bulb grease before, but I would definitely recommend using thermal paste for it. But I mean, if it's working, I don't know. I can't say I'd recommend it, but maybe some,
There you go.
Colgate Total toothpaste on there,
So, oh, got it. Yes. So, what we are going to do real quick is we're going to jump over and show you how you can get your hands on an amazing CLX PC from our website at clxgaming.com. At clxgaming.com, we try and make it as easy as possible for you to get the PC of your dreams. It's going to do exactly what you want, the way that you want it. Now, we have everything from Intel to AMD, NVIDIA, Radeon. We've got big cases, small cases, medium-sized cases, all sorts of cases, and you get to choose every different element of it, from your hard drives to your memory, you name it, and you can't screw it up. We have basically a foolproof compatibility wizard. So that little green button that says add to cart, well, if you say have a 4090 selected and you don't have a big enough power supply, that button turns to yellow, and then it says, all right, if you're going to use this power supply, you can only use these graphics cards. But if you want this graphics card, you're going to have to choose one of these power supplies. Solve the problem, the button goes back to green, and guess what? You can continue on with your order. There are many different things that you can have done to your PC as you're having it built, including overclocking the GPU, overclocking the CPU, doing both, upgrading the thermal paste. You can get an open loop system, which is all the tubes and things, or you can get a closed loop, like an AIO like we use here currently. And the best part is you can get all of it in one trip. And that means we're going to go over our favorite place, the accessories peripherals. So first of all, the very first one is just how you can get really cool t-shirts, hats, and windbreakers. The windbreakers are amazing. I love the purple ones. But anything you think you might need, we got it. Need keyboards, mice, controllers, headsets, microphones, speakers, monitors. We've even got we've got monitors. We've even got routers and chairs. Plus, we've got streaming gear. You want a capture card? We got them. You need a Beacon mix crate and a Beacon mic? We got them. It's amazing. It's your one-stop shopping center. Now, that might seem a little bit, shocking and a little bit much to deal with all at once. So don't worry. If that's not something you're really into, you can head right on over to our ready-to-ship section. We call it the RTS area, and check out all the different PCs we've got. They're already built, already tested, and they're waiting for a home. And who knows, that home might just be yours. So for all of your future PC and gaming needs, head on over to clxgaming.com and help us prepare you for the future. Alrighty. Now, I did mention something, Paul. I mentioned that we tested something. Mm-hmm. So what does that entail?
What our testing entails, once the PC is built and turned on, at least shows that it turns on, we'll get this one on in just a second, it goes to our testing and integration department. And so the first thing we do there is get into the BIOS of the machine. We'll make sure our RAM speed is set correctly, all of our storage devices are showing up, and depending on the build, may mess around with a couple of their settings in there. If we were doing overclocking, that's where we would apply the overclock. And then after the BIOS has been set, that's when we load the operating system. If you picked any games on our website, that's where we load those as well. If you didn't pick any games or anything like that, you just get a fresh install of your operating system. We don't put any bloatware on these machines, so you're not going to get a bunch of different copies of an antivirus software that you don't want or anything like that. You just get a fresh install. And then once the machine's loaded with everything, we put it through a 12-hour stress test or a burn-in, and that allows us to make sure everything is stable. Sometimes you can have a PC turn on, get video, everything looks fine, and then when you're gaming, a stick of RAM or something else fails. Can be just defective from the factory, and so that allows us to catch that here and fix it before you get it.
There we go. Nice. All right, so are we ready to see what this beautiful PC for Intel Gamer Days looks like? And who knows, one of you may very well win this incredible machine. Let's take a look.
Boom. Love these fans.
So bright. That's what I love about the white builds. It just, everything's reflected. Mm-hmm. It's so cool. I dig it a lot. And the other thing I want to point out is I love the fact that Asus closed off the end. They put it, it looks nice and even on the far side of that graphics card. It's incredible. So let's go over one more time what we're going into this amazing PC for Intel Gamer Days. This, of course, is a Set XT View Mid Tower in white. It's got an Intel Core i7 14700KF processor mounted on an Asus Prime Z790A Wi-Fi motherboard. with 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 RAM plus that RTX 4070. Our operating system will be installed on a 1 terabyte A-Data Legend 700 Gold M.2. Our CPU is going to be cooled by a CLX Quench 360 ARGB AIO. Plus, we've got 6 different Game DS fans, and it's all being powered by an 850 watt MSI Mag A850GL 80 plus gold power supply. Love it! It looks great. Okay, now, with that being said, as we're going to be going back to our normal format, which is great. I'm excited because we are going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, you're going to get to spend the afternoon with Zach as he continues to answer some amazing questions that you all have in chat. Plus, he's going to continue building some more machines, which is going to be really fun. Now, this show happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern. Once again, we drop codes on the green side. That is Tuesdays. That's here right now. That's kick.com/CLX Gaming. On Thursdays, we drop them over on the purple side. That's twitch.tv/CLX Gaming TV. And then you can also find them in our social media, and that's CLX Gaming at YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You can also jump into our Discord with a bunch of other like-minded gamers and PC enthusiasts, and that is discord.gg/CLX Gaming. You can also find codes for both those giveaways on my channel, and I'll be giving away several codes today. So there we go. Much love. That was incredible. That's a really good-looking build. I dig it. I dig it a lot. So with that being said, a huge shout-out, by the way, and thank you to Nicole and Ivory for continuing to manage and handle all of the codes. And on behalf of Kyle and Jason in production, Paul and Zach, I'm DJ Blue PDX. Don't go away. We've got more coming up after the break. We'll be right back.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.